So what do you say, guys? John from Heavysettactical here. I wanted to put out a brief discussion video for a number of reasons today, and I've been wanting to do this for a couple of weeks now, but I haven't had an adequate amount of time. I have a lot of stuff going on right now, and just getting reacquainted back to not being out in Gettysburg, on top of setting some things up for a shop that's not in my shed, it's in my barn. I have a big two-story multiple car garage barn that we're turning the first floor into a knife shop, custom shop. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I've got a lot of help from Gary Creeley has helped me quite a bit. Alan over at Primitive Bear Knives. Primitive Bear Knives, man, the owner of Primitive Bear Knives is one of the most solid guys I've had the luck to get to know throughout my journey with YouTube. Steve Kalari reached out and gave me some advice over Instagram. A lot of good guys, a lot of good makers. But yeah, so I wanted to say thank you. And Gary Creeley, I've been spending some time, just a little bit of time up at his shop, checking out some of his processes and kind of discussing how I want to set my shop up. So guys, this video, this discussion is essentially kind of a part two to the Survive thing. And this was more or less going to be a little bit of a support video for some of the companies that I believe Guy really tried to tarnish in his issues with Survive. And I don't think that was done maliciously, except for with one company, and we'll talk about that. But guys, you want to talk? I got a call from the owner of Millet Knives. They do the OEM work for reef knives, and never had a problem with a reef knife. I had a sheath that had a little problem with it, but Stu sent me around one right away, a replacement for free, so he was very nice to do that. And I don't think they make the sheaths anyway. I think that's Armory. But anyway, Millet Knives reached out to me, and we had a really long discussion, maybe an hour discussion about some things that went on with Survive. And he wanted to reach out and make sure that his reputation stayed intact as far as my views on his company. And they've had a lot of issues in their past with Survive. So today isn't a bash video. I don't like to. I think there's enough hate going on in the knife community and drama, and I don't want to, roll that stone down the hill any further. So make a long story short, Bob and Frank over at Niagara Specialty Metals, I have spoken to probably about 10 small to medium-sized knife makers since the Survive issue, and every single one of them has had nothing but good things to say about Niagara Specialty Metals. Just about when they've had issues trying to find people to cut blanks, Niagara has done that for them, and worked with them to refine their processes and done nice things for them. So, as this Survive thing went on and on and on, I think that it's really easy for us, just as human beings and people in general, to get kind of drawn in on some not very accurate, conclusive thoughts and feelings about companies, especially surrounding knives in the knife world. So guys, I'm going to start by saying that the biggest issue Survive had as far as production stuff was the heat treat issue. That was Pete's heat treat. And the thing about that issue that a lot of people might not understand is, okay, I have just a random blank here. So guys, this is just a cheap, crappy blank that I was using for something a couple years ago that's I've used as a paperweight for quite some time. So guys, this is I was using this to reference when you have a decarb happen it can affect the outside lining of the steel, right? The very outside of the blank. And rarely it goes in deep enough to be a real structural issue ever. It's a very surface level thing. So I was under the understanding that Pete's Heat Treat did some processes that they had never tried before and did not know how to do correctly, and burned up over $100,000 in parts of Survives, right? And it was this big issue, and they've screwed up a whole, boxes and boxes of Magna Cup blanks. Well, one of the issues in that scenario, to my knowledge, guys, I am very good at the processes on, and sharpening and things with knives. I know a lot about steels and testing, but I am not a crazy knife steel guru. I know a lot more than the average person, but so take this with a grain of salt, grain of sand, whatever the hell you want to take it with. Survive took too much meat off of their blanks before heat treat. So they had sent them in, they had the decarb happen, and they didn't have anywhere to go as far as taking off that decarb. They couldn't go deep enough because they had already taken off too much meat. That is technically a fault of guys for not leaving enough meat on. I don't know if that was to save on abrasives for finish grinding or what the reasoning was behind that. But I have figured out some more pieces of this puzzle that it's not 100% Pete's Heat Treat's fault. Now, another thing that you might be thinking, which I was for a little bit, was that this decarb thing is not a specific to Survive issue. Decarbonizing happens pretty regularly, and it can happen for a number of reasons, but it didn't just happen to Survive and ruin all their things. And then when you add on to this situation, Guy was so upset about this situation that he cast all of those blanks that had the decarb aside because he couldn't go deep enough, because that would compromise the sheaths he already had made and the thickness of the blade. So he tossed all those blanks, and did not redirect them into another project or some things that you could possibly do with them. In some cases, I think he made some thinner ones and coated them, but that was a while ago. So, make a long story short, I read some pretty fishy emails that Guy had gotten from Pete's Heat Treat, and I know there was a little bit of hostility there coming from Pete's Heat Treat, but then again, they were being attacked by Guy. So that whole chapter, I crumpled up in a ball and threw out. I'm going to go into this as somebody that doesn't know anything and kind of have my own thoughts on it. As spending time out there, I watched Guy roll this ball of a snowball down a hill, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger, and he continued to have this monsterization of Niagara specialty metals and CPM and Laren Thomas and Magna Cut. And guys, I've talked to 10 plus makers over the past few weeks in great detail, and spent time at 2 different shops of theirs, and they have never had any issues with Magna Cut. Now, that being said, the 2 issues that killed Survive, which are not correct, was the decarb, which was huge. That was a big hit for Survive at a bad time, yes. And then there was the voids. Guys, I'm here to tell you that in those hundreds and hundreds of blades, yes, there were some voids that it was actually proven at that lab that they were from when the steel was rolled out in sheets. So it was from the melting process. There were some issues. But guys, Guy attacked Niagara Specialty Metals so hard, and Laren Thomas, and accused Laren Thomas of hiding things about this new steel that are going to end up, negatively affecting knife makers and blah, blah, blah. All these scenarios, and that's not correct in any way, shape, or form. So you have all these makers that have had good results with MagnaCut. And I have seen the blanks. Don't get me wrong. Guy was not making up the voids. They were not from his finishing processes. I saw the voids myself. And for those of you that think I would have any reason to lie for Survive, trust me, I don't. I got duped into a messy situation by a guy that was very desperate, and I almost got took for a lot. I ended up only losing out on 3 months of living expenses, thousands of dollars, but I did get the majority of my original investment back from selling that machine that I had as collateral, and I did not leave Survive with a trunk full of blanks or anything, like these funny comments on the internet are going around here. But make a long story short, those two issues, one, the decarb Pete's heat treat, and the other is Niagara. Out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of blades, there was only maybe 20 or 25 that had voids. And guys, if you talk to any makers that have smaller operations, out of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, losing 25 is kind of like a regular thing. Like, people lose blades. Things get messed up in the grinding process, in the heat treating process, in this and that. And so that's really not that crazy. Guy made this Niagara feud, this Laren Thomas MagnaCut feud, into this huge thing when that didn't cost him barely any money whatsoever. What cost him significant money, probably significant money, was the decarb issue. But adding to that, the fact that he didn't leave enough meat on there for a decarb situation, just in case it happened, that it was kind of a rookie mistake, as far as I've learned recently about heat treating protocols. So Niagara Specialty Metals, they are not bad people. They are not hiding any secrets. CPM steels are the top of the pyramid as far as steel processes. And then you go to, there was all this talk about Bowler and Udahome and their third generation steels. And guys, they are not better than CPM. They're very good, but they're the same recipe taken from CPM and used over here. It's a same recipe, same ingredients, different recipe. We'll say it that way. CPM, is the tip of the pyramid as far as steel processing goes. And I don't think anyone should be concerned with MagnaCut or trusting Laren Thomas's information on MagnaCut. In my experience at Survive, didn't see any negative stuff or any faulty stuff or any weird info or weird calls or weird messages. Not one surrounding Bob and Frank at Niagara or Laren Thomas. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that this whole MagnaCut debacle was a big issue of Guy's, and he wanted to blame someone for his company. And I almost received some of that blame, so I know what that feels like. So guys, this is also serving as an apology video to the potential damaged reputation of Niagara Specialty Metals, Pete's Heat Treat, and Millet Knives. Those three companies, as far as I'm concerned, are not monsters. They are not hiding any big secrets or hurting small knife makers. If anyone was hurt by the big company, it was all of the guys that had pre-orders for Survive that got screwed over for the money. So I'm sorry, as much as Guy talked about Big Pharma taking down the little guy and hurting him and kicking him while he's down, that's business. You have to make money and pay bills to continue your service. And as far as I'm concerned, that service was not being fulfilled by Survive, even going back 8 years. We are talking almost a decade, guys. So again, this isn't a slam video. If I saw a guy on the street, I'd have no ill will towards him whatsoever. Ellie, Mike, any of them. But there's some real issues here. So we got the manufacturing financial issues of Survive had been happening since day one. And me being an insider that spent some time there, I started really, I'd hear Guy and Ellie say things about, from day one, every 6 months for 10 years, they were at a point where they had to buy themselves out of debt. And they set up their processes in a way where they didn't know how long it would take to make these knives. They had to touch the knives too much. There was no way to salvage this brand or this company in any way that even negated. Guys, the all the decarb and void issue together all of those two issues did was speed up the death of Survive by about 30 days, maybe. Survive was going down and down and down from about 5-6 years ago until now. It had always been dying. And I don't know how. I said to Guy and Ellie several times a day the last 2 weeks I was there, I don't even know how you guys got here. How did you even do this? And the answer is by accepting pre-orders, large amounts of pre-orders, for knives that they were not able to get out the door. So they used the money of the customer for buying themselves out over and over again, and buying equipment that they didn't need, buying steel that they weren't ready to use, buying sheaths that they didn't have lined up knives for, and to tell you the truth, the other day someone that I respect very much their opinion looked at me and said, "Why are you so afraid to say something negative about Guy or Survive? You got duped." And I sat back and I was like annoyed for a second, like I'm not stupid enough to get duped, because I really didn't for that much money, couple grand for sure, but I didn't get duped like I could have if I were to have gone in with an initial larger investment or given the other half of my initial investment, which I was seconds from handing over until Ellie told me the real numbers. So there were about 1,000 times that I caught Guy lying about stupid things, lying about important things. And guys, it takes every piece of me to continue saying that I don't have ill will against Guy. I don't carry hate in my heart for very long, and maybe I was upset at first, but Guy is a person that's really sick inside, and he continues to not try to do anything to change that. He just continues being this victim, and it's always the bigger companies, always this, always that. And so again, this serves as a big support video for the companies that Guy tried to tarnish in all this. And I know, like me, I went in the door. I'm a pretty logical thinker. I like to see evidence. I'm a very calm person, pretty well-read guy. And I went in the door, and after a few weeks, because Guy Seaford is so good, he is so smart, he really is, he had me thinking negatively about Millet, had me thinking negatively about Bob and Frank at Niagara, had me thinking negatively about Pete Tree, before I even got the pieces of evidence that any of that was even real. So I don't want there to be a large group of people out there that are still swirling around attacking MagnaCut, Laren Thomas, Niagara Specialty Metals, any of the CPM steel manufacturing subsidiary places, Millet Knives. Guys, these companies are all legit, and MagnaCut is very legit. Now, does it warp a little more than normal steels? Yes. There's specialty hammers made to help straighten out, and there's some processes during and after and before heat treat that can help negate the warping of MagnaCut. It's not anything heinous, but yeah, So this serves as an apology video to me falling into that trap that guy perfectly made about the CPM steals and Niagara and this big monstratization of Magna Cut and Laren Thomas hiding these voids. And guys, as far as I'm concerned, I talked to somebody, a couple people over the past couple weeks that have made thousands of blades in all different types of CPM steels. Some are easier than others to work with. Some warp a little more, some warp a little less. Some are easier to grind, some are less easy to grind. But there has never been a consistent issue in my talking to all these people. There was not one consistent issue that I found of voids or decarbs or consistent issues of any kind. So again, this is an apology video to the people that got their orders duped, and they got screwed over for quite a large amount of money. I want to apologize to Niagara Specialty Metals and Millet Knives and Laren Thomas and all the guys that are working with Magna Cut for, even believing some of that. But I got to tell you, if you spent enough time with Guy, you would have thought Millet Knives were monsters. You would have thought Niagara Specialty Metals was hiding some big conspiracy. You would have thought that Pete's Heat Treat ruined Survive Knives. They have had issues from the start. And those issues, guys, I am not speaking out of turn. I am not speaking from someone that doesn't have the numbers. And I have not posted any of that because I don't want to put out information that could really harm anyone. But Survive was set up from the gate to never be able to be a profitable company. I was told after being there for a couple weeks and after investing that they had not had a profitable year ever. So they have never actually profited by the standards of a business. Offering a service, getting paid for it, getting the service out, you make this. These are your expenses. They never had a profitable year ever. So they always used, in quite illegally, used pre-orders to buy themselves out, to move across the country. All the banks that I contacted about that, all the banks that had liens on the equipment, none of them knew they weren't in Idaho anymore. I informed another knife company that they had a piece of equipment that was sold to them that wasn't even paid off. I mean, there was some really shady shit going on here. So a lot of you out there that were like me, that were Survive Knife fans and big fans of Survive Knives. I love the designs, I love the knives, and I love what we got out of it, because I do have just a few of their knives that I really enjoyed using, and I bought from Guy when I was first going out there and hanging out. But make no mistake here, these acts are criminal to the highest extent of the word and term. Guy's name was on everything, so sadly, when it comes down to it legally, it's Guy's doing. But I think there were a lot of other parties to play there. Guys, I want you to think about it like this. Let's say my dad and I build this shop in the barn, which, for the sake of the story, say we build a huge manufacturing company in my barn. And I spend the better part of 9 years offering an air conditioning unit that you can put in your bedroom that's this big and it cools your whole bedroom. And I put out pre-orders for 8.5 years and don't send any of those units out. There has to be a legal action for that. There has to be a criminal intent, even if it wasn't intentional as a criminal, because let's be honest, Guy and Ellie and all them, they didn't end up with a penny, not even a car, can't even pay the cell phone bill. That's how bad. So they didn't end up with any money, which is even more crazy. But it's a crime. I don't understand how an American-made company can not give the services they're being paid for almost a decade, and then Chapter 7, there's two types of bankruptcy. Chapter 11 is restructure and pivot. Chapter 7 is liquidate and we're dead. So how does a company sign the papers for bankruptcy and wash their hands? So, last video I put out, the following morning, I put out my video at 6, 7, 8 o'clock, somewhere in there. The following morning, guy must have seen it and he put out a video, and he did not attack me. He said because of some rumors on the internet, but that could be a lot of people, including me, which I don't spread rumors on the internet. That's never been my game. Sometimes I'll get mad at a product or a company and say something that might be hairline negative, but I do not spread ridiculous rumors or do the bot thing. Shit. I always go on these tangents and lose my point. This whole situation, right? I put out my video. The next morning, guy put out a video, and he talked about pivoting, and he's going to find a way to get your knives out. I need everybody to understand once and for all, that will never occur. And it's sad that it won't. I wish it would. If there was a way I could still help Guy get your knives out, I still would help. That's how much I feel for everybody, because I've been there, and I still have a pre-order with Survive in the system. So it's upsetting because, guy put this video out and he talked about the next morning. It was on Instagram and YouTube, same video, and he talked about finding a pivot, and that then he put a second video out about his finishing processes are under scrutiny online and people are talking shit on his finishing process. None of that matters because you're not admitting fault and you're not apologizing. There was not 1% of admitting fault. There was still placing blame, the Pete treat, this, that. And there wasn't any sort of apology. And that's the thing. I know Guy feels for the customers. That's the messed up thing, is I know he does. I know that for a fact. But how crazy is it that you can't just say, look guys, this thing got way out of hand and I'm sorry that all of you guys are getting screwed. You guys watched that video. He did not admit fault one time, still placed blame, still acted like he's going to pivot after selling his assets, some of his assets. Guys, the only reason that video was posted, in my professional opinion, was because he needed to say something, because he might have been embarrassed that I'm the one that had to tell you Survive was over, which shouldn't be my place to do that. And because he wanted to get it out there that he's selling all the equipment in his shop. There were a few comments on his page about how can I contact you to buy some equipment. And then, guys, I wish I knew how to put a little picture up in the corner using my phone. I don't have my MacBook here. I got contacted after Guy's video. Not mine, after Guy's. I got contacted on Instagram after Guy's Instagram post that following morning. 5 to 7 times from big outfits, manufacturing outfits, asking me to have Guy call them to sell his equipment to them. Or asking me if I can call them with Guy from my phone. Here's my contact info. I would like you to set up a time for us to come and potentially buy all the equipment at Survive's shop. So I personally think that was half a ploy to let everybody know that he's got shit for sale to try to cover his debt with the bank for the equipment. But guys, we are talking well over $1 million in undelivered knives. Well over $1 million in undelivered knives. And I don't understand how that's not going to be something that catches up with Guy legally. So, again, I don't want Guy to spend the rest of his life in jail. I don't want Guy to be beaten senseless by a mad customer. I don't want to hurt him. I know he's got problems. But if I would have offered $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 to hand Guy right there, right away, he would have took it and paid off some of his debt, and then I'd have been screwed for my money. And that's what would have happened. So I know that he doesn't necessarily do these things to be a monster. I don't think he's a monster, but he doesn't understand how his actions are affecting others. He just doesn't. And it's pretty upsetting and disgraceful. So again, Niagara, Bob and Frank over at Niagara, Pete's Heat Treat, Millet Knives, all you guys, I was never a part of continuing to hurt your reputation, and I hope you can, if you thought I was, or that I did think negatively of you, I hope that you can accept my apology as a man, as a future manufacturer, and as a knife lover. So again, thank you guys for listening. It's hard to talk about some of this stuff because I just wanted it to be over, but in another sense, some of these things need to be said, and for someone to, guys, if I could go back in time and take one photograph before I left Survive, it would be the tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of blanks in that shop. There were stacks and stacks and stacks and boxes and boxes and crates and shelves and floor space on floor space of stacks of blanks and piles of blanks in every model and every steel that they offered, and boxes and boxes and boxes and crates and shelves of sheaths and clips and hardware and this and that. And all of them, if it was the 5.1, they didn't have blanks, but they had sheaths, hardware, handle scales, right? If it was the 4.5 Magnic or 4.5 Bushcraft, they didn't have sheaths, but they had the hardware, they had the handles, and they had the blanks. So it was never the amount, the same for every knife to get out the door, but it would blow your mind if you guys knew the value in steel purchased in that shop that they just kept not getting to. I thought it was a lack of determination or a lack of oomph, and I went in and got everybody riled up. Let's go. Let's get this shit out the door. Guy just continued not to change, continued to work on whatever he wanted to work on, and sadly, he had more mental health issues than anyone I've ever met in my life. So all those three things in the way, it was never going to work. And what's upsetting for me is also all of these videos I watched as a consumer up until this year. I was a consumer up until this year. I was only with Survive for 2.5 months, 3 months. All of these, what was I saying? All of these videos for the past 3 years on his YouTube channel, keeping pre-orders open and talking about his daily check-ins and what they're working on today and this and that. Guy was putting all these videos out and then just not working on these things. I mean, like, when you think about that, that is so mind-blowing. The 3 years, the past 2.5, 3 years this guy spent of putting out videos, especially the last year being back in PA. We'll focus on the last year. Over the past year, he's put out 100 or so videos with production updates and what they're working on and exciting new designs, and the EDC 5.5 with the jimping up top, and guys, he knew there was no way to get any of these knives done. It wasn't possible, and if he thought it was, that's even more crazy. And then secondly, for guys that think Guy Seifert is this savant knife maker, there were several occasions where Guy told me himself that I always said to Guy, you're so focused on these perfect ergonomics, perfect finished product. Why don't you go just have a custom shop in your garage somewhere and work on customs? And he said to me, verbatim, guy said to me, if you took me and put me in a custom knife shop, I would have no idea what to do to any of those knives. Guy blasted, bead blasted, glass bead blasted the blanks and handle scales very well. He used the Blanchard grinder very well. And he sharpened very well. Those are the only three things that Guy knows how to do as far as knife making. He used to make extravagant claims about knife makers and knives that I would bring in there and, say negative things about them, especially reef knives. He came at reef hard. Stu's always been good to me. Never had an issue with reef. They are expensive, yes, but manufacturing is a big endeavor, guys, and that's what they're priced accordingly. Sorry. That's what happens. If you can't afford that, then find some better knives that are less money. And I didn't understand just the worth in each blade after spending some time seeing manufacturing, and how hard it is, and the things that can go wrong, and the money always going out the door for tooling, abrasives, coolant, sick days, this, that, boom, boom. It's an impossible task that some people are able to do, like Millet doing reef knives. They do it very well. So kudos to those guys. So again, sorry for rambling on. This was not structured. I don't have a piece of paper with names and dates and what I wanted to say. I always shoot from the hip. So I am going to be working on some knives. I have a few designs that I'm really excited about, from the mid-range kind of lower end EDC stuff, 3.5 inch ish, 3 to 3.5, and then up into a really nice belt knife, field knife that I'm working on. So I've ordered an Ameribraid and some other things for my shop space back in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I just want to be a small maker that does drops of pretty affordable stuff, and just have some fun doing it. Because again, guys, when you boil all of this crap down with Survive and the drama and this and that and everything I've been through, I'm a knife lover, a knife enthusiast, and there's a lot of knives I hold and I think they're amazing, but I think I could change it and make a really cool different version of it, and that's why I'm going to make some of my own knives. So down the road, hopefully I'll be able to share these designs with you guys and show you some of the progress in the shop this weekend. I'm going to shoot some videos this weekend with my old man in the shop, and I would like to just be a small custom knife shop, just two American good old boys in southern Lancaster making knives in the barn. That's all I want, me and my old man. And we've been talking about doing it for a long time. So when I came back from Gettysburg at Survive, him and I just looked at each other and said it's time. So again, guys, I hope to see you guys and talk to you about all this shop stuff in the future. Really sorry for everybody that lost out. And again, this is an official apology from John Sharetta at Heavysettactical to Niagara Specialty Metals, Bob and Frank, Millet Knives, and everybody that works for Millet Knives, and Laren Thomas, the guy who came up with Magna Cut Steel, because I love it and I use it every day, carry it every day on something. So guys, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching this, this is not me coming at you. I just think that you really need to think about how your actions affect others, because this could have ended badly. Somebody could have come to the shop and shot you and I. Somebody could have hurt Ellie. Somebody could have hurt Mike. When you take off that scuba mask and see it, you've been so hyper focused on these things that don't matter and these monstratizing of these companies, and you're not seeing all of what you have done wrong, because it's a large percentage, like large. So again, man, I don't hate you. Thank you guys for listening to my video, and hopefully some of you guys out in manufacturing Like again, Primitive Bear Knives, huge help. Steve Kalari sent me some good information when he saw my video, and Gary Creeley, who has been helping me a lot. Great guy. Love Gary. Love Creeley Blades. Love Gary's knives. Uh, they've been helping me along the way with what to order for my shop, and some of their processes that they do, and some places I can get heat treating done, and all the fun questions. So there are still fantastic people in the knife community, and it doesn't have to be all about the drama. So thank you to Niagara Specialty Metals, Laren Thomas, Pete's Heat Treat. I don't have any guff against you, and Millet Knives. Thank you guys very much for the services you provide, and I will do everything I can to continue your positive reputation in the knife world, and a special thank you to Primitive Bear Knives and Creeley Blades. So guys, I really, really hope that you have a fantastic week. I just keep rambling on, so I'm going to shut the heck up and get offline. Go have some dinner. So guys, thank you very much, and like always, stay safe and stay heavy.